We hope you're tied on as we're off and running. Little Friday action coming your way on Gulfstream today, live from our paddock studios. Twilight Friday, after all. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti alongside. Keyed up, Ron. Eve of Summit of Speed. We started around 2:15, and it's just all good here by the GP. By the sea.
Got lots of good things going on, and you mentioned the Summit of Speed tomorrow, and a little later on we'll let you know about today. We've got mandatory payouts.
Indeed we do. Now we want you to hop on board and get out here for the entire 4th of July festivities and the weekend. It promises to be a big one, and of course the Summit of Speed has really evolved over the years into a can't-miss championship day for the sprinters in South Florida. Number of shippers coming down, including Javier Castellano, jockey Luis Saez. It'll be good to have those two guys with us tomorrow afternoon at Gulfstream Park. We shall also see if the hard-hitting sprinter Delta Bluesman can become the first repeat winner of the Smile Sprint ever, a race inaugurated back in 1984. There's been no horse that's won the Smile Sprint 2 years in a row, and let's refresh your memory with his victory for trainer Jorge Navarro a year ago.
Yeah, no, we showed this a couple of times already this week, and the amazing thing is the half-mile time, 43.81. They were motoring, and he just drew off in the stretch to win impressively, and he's going to be on the engine tomorrow and to see if he can repeat, as you mentioned, in this race, which has never, as you mentioned, been done before.
Yeah, no repeat winners. It's never happened in, a race that's been around for over 30 years. 1984, the first running of the Smile Sprint, and that is one of the marquee Breeders' Cup win-and-you're-in races on tomorrow's 14-race Summit of Speed card that also includes the Grade 2 Princess Rooney, win-and-you're-in for the BC Filly and Mare Sprint, and the 3-year-old restricted carryback stakes, which for my money might just be my favorite race on the Summit of Speed program, given the kind of firepower and talent in that field, including 3 rules. So I'm very anxious to see get back to kind of his home base here in South Florida.
Just touching on a few things we mentioned, we got 152 entries, I think you mentioned, yes, in the card. Full fields, 14 races, so besides those great stakes races, the rest of the card is going to be very challenging, and that's what makes it fun.
11:55 is that first post. Get out here early, get a good night's sleep as well. It'll be a long day, but a great day right here at Gulfstream Park. And we'll start you off perhaps on the right foot as we have our free-to-play Beat the Expert Friday, Beat the Expert Challenge over on our Facebook page. Hop online and sign up. There's my my pose, my scholar pose out on the apron, and I'll try to take on everybody today, and we'll see who proves best on a program, Ronnie, in which we are fast and firm.
Yeah, I get a chance to win one of those cool polo shirts that actually says Beat the Expert right on the sleeve, and it's our Facebook page. And if you are playing along, tweet us and let us know how you're doing.
Yeah, we want to hear throughout the day. Yeah, take shots all day long. I try to be a good sport. My skin isn't that thick, you know, so have a good time with Beat the Expert and give it to me throughout the afternoon on Twitter, and of course give us a follow here at Gulfstream Park. What else is going on? Well, how about a mandatory payout? Kind of a weird situation here in my mind as a Florida newbie. Well, it's Friday, June 30th, so, well, we've got a mandatory payout in the Pick 5s and Rainbow 6.
It's the end of the fiscal year, which ends today. Tomorrow starts a new meet. We start anew, so everything has to be paid out this afternoon. So you got a chance, $80,000 in the Rainbow 6. We'll be showing you that in a minute, and that means it's got to go today.
Yeah, get your piece. Rainbow 6 kicks off in race number 4. That early Pick 5, of course, begins in race number 1. Field of 5, sprinting 5 furlongs on the turf. A bit later, about a half hour, give or take, will be the first dollar rolling super high 5 on the program, and then we'll get the old drum roll and Ronnie's Rainbow 6 ticket for the 4th.
Starting in race number 4, as you mentioned, 80,000 plus. I'm guessing over $250,000 in the pool, and that's just a guess on my part. So chance to win that with just 20 cents.
And then the late 5 comes back in the 5th. There's a pretty nice Florida-bred maiden special weight fairly late in the day, and some key rematches throughout the card. A number of familiar rivals squaring off against one another with the fast and firm conditions right here at Gulfstream Park. So there is kind of a finality hanging in the air on this last day in June. June. Hard to believe that as we get on to the first race today. And again, this was a card that kind of, for the most part, went unscathed in the scratch department. We lost a major player here and a likely heavy favorite in the 7, Kiss the Crown. With that horse out, who I kind of wanted to lean on in the early pick 5, got to go 3 deep. We'll give you my little Friday early pick 5 play. I'm spreading in the first and using the 3 contenders to 2, 3, and 5. In the second, I'm going to take Edgar Z and Tyler G. I'm comfy and comfortable with those 2 guys. 16th time the charm. I don't know if I've ever singled a horse who's winless in 15 starts, but I think Never Burn a Copy is a good centerpiece and may have found the right group in race number 3 and the centerpiece in that early pick 5. Couple of horses in the 4th leg, Speed, and a first that might be live for trainer Ron Spatz. And in the last race, speaking of one of those key rematches on the card, we've got a grudge match between Ventina and Bahama Kitten. I just don't think there's a heck of a lot in the ability department that separates those 2 fillies, so they're on the play as well for $12. Let's get down to business, though, Ronnie, talking about this field of 5, which, by the way, the first race today, a $10,000 3-and-up filly mare claimer, 5/8 on the turf. Again, we lost the major favorite on the outside and Kiss the Crown. With them out, who do you like? In fact, we like a cold try.
We like a cold try.
Easy game.
I moved the 5 up Indominus, who's dropping a notch today on that claiming scale after hitting gate very slightly at the start, getting bounced around a little bit at the top of the stretch and finishing 4th behind the 6-5 favorite that afternoon called Sound Defense. So I thought with the scratch of the 7, this one moves up my destination. And apparently you're in agreement. That's the 3 you used on your pick 5 ticket.
Yeah, I think you're locked up here. Look, I mean, it's only a 5-horse field you're using. Indominus is going to be nowhere near that 5-1 by post time. They look like the right 3 horses where you have that big early speed and a need the lead kind of filly in the form of the 3 Wildcat Wave. You're probably going to get some early speed from Coquiva Koa, who likes to get her butt in the game early on. She's a pretty consistent and sharp mare by Flash Storm. And then you've also got Indominus, who gets Edgar Zayas and is switching back to firm ground. I just think with the number of these horses in South Florida, they prefer firmer ground. She'll get it today. I think she pulls the right trip, getting first run on Coquiva Koa and the speedy Wildcat Wave. Let's move on to race number 2. We'll head to the main track. Ron, 1 mile the distance here. Friday's early pick 4 begins with this 3-and-up filly mare, 62.50 claiming race. Now, as far as who I like, I see you and I both like a pair of 5s to start this Twilight Friday at Gulfstream Park. We're in the camp of Edgar Zayas for the early double sweep and the number 5, Miss High Tide.
Yeah, wheeling back after responding to a drop down in competition with a 2nd place finish at this same level and distance. Gerald Bennett is the trainer. You mentioned Edgar Zayas, and I just think this one is the one to beat in the 2nd race, which kicks off our first of 2 pick 4s this afternoon.
That's right. Now, the 5 Miss High Tide, I think one of the feathers in her cap, a mile is no problem whatsoever. She's kind of a cruising speedster who can get herself in the game early on, and she can sustain that cruising speed to the finish line, going a mile 7/8 to a mile and a 16th. She's got that in her wheelhouse today for a very good trainer, and I think when it's all said and done by post time, you're going to be dealing with the likely 2nd choice, and it might be close in the wagering, but the 7 Feeling Awesome, who we both have 2nd, she's a major player off her overall ability. I think going a mile, though, of late, she just hasn't been doing this distance or anywhere near it.
She rallied to come within ahead of Notch in this condition, but that was going at 6.5 furlongs. The trainer is Carlo Vaccarezza. Pretty solid with horses stretching out in distance, about 20%. Tyler Gaffleone, previous one, you got to go back 6 starts with only that 1 win at the mile distance.
All right, outside post for Feeling Awesome on today's card as we get back on the turf. Friday's 3rd, 1 mile the distance with this 3-and-up, $12,500 maiden claimer. And finally, you and I, after picking Edgar Z in both halves of the early double, we move away from the 5-horse, and we have a disagreement here, at least as far as who we think is going to get the maiden diploma in Friday's 3rd. I am in the camp for better or for worse, and it might be for worse. You can find, and let me go on the record, you can find better short price favorites than the likes of the one Never Burn a Copy, given the fact that this gelding was 82-1 last time out and actually overachieved in that open company maiden special weight on the grass here, but he is 0 for 15. All that being said, the negatives are pretty obvious at a short price. I just think, given his last couple of starts, he's actually in like respectable form. I don't think he's ever run as well as he has in his last couple, and the timing is right to put him in a spot where he can win. He gets that today for 12-5.
Maybe it's as simple as him finally figuring it out. He was beating the neck in a 12-5 level on April 29th. He dropped. He returned from that layoff. Finished 7. It was ambitious. It was under maiden special weight conditions. But I'll tell you why I like the 6 exclusive reward. Turn it back to a mile today after following a pair of second-place finishes, going 7.5 furlongs with that late closing fourth against Simbler, going a mile into 16th. Want to show you a stat on trainer Francisco D'Angelo over the last 5 years with turf roots and the maiden claiming conditions. He's 4 for 18, 22%. He's in the money 44% of the time, and he's got a $9.70 return of investment. So I went back and looked. He had a couple of horses that paid well. It wasn't one horse that paid like $80. He had a couple of horses that has done this and paid very good prices. So that was my reasoning of putting the 6 over the 1, Never Burn a Copy.
Now, why do you think that stat exists, in the sense of why do you think this trainer does well specifically in maiden claiming turf races?
I mean, that's what he might point for, and that's the level of competition, maybe the type of horse that he has.
Right.
And I always think he does a great job in talking about Francisco D'Angelo. And you know, you don't know until you go back and look at these stats and they jump off the page at you. So that was my reasoning to put the 6. The 1, for all the reasons you mentioned, a shaky call at best, but I think those are the logical two.
Yeah, it looks like the 1 and 6 have timed it right, at least as far as who they're facing off paper. We'll see if that translates to a 1-2 chalky exacta-box finish in Friday's third. And with the third down, we can focus in on the mandatory payout Rainbow 6. This guy will help get you through it with his ticket on the other side of this little timeout.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet, we are racing.
Saturday, July 1st, don't miss the Summit of Speed at Gulfstream Park. A full day of live thoroughbred racing action featuring the Grade 2 Princess Rooney and the Grade 3 Smile Sprint. Both Breeders' Cup win-and-you're-in stakes racing. Over $1 million on the line with a first race of $11.55. Admission and parking are free. The Summit of Speed at Gulfstream Park. Speed thrills. Welcome to your playground, Gulfstream Park.
And we're back live on this Friday edition of Twilight Sunset Friday here at Gulfstream Park, and there's plenty of sun and bright sunshine to go around. It is a gorgeous Friday here in Hallandale Beach with Jason and Ron from our paddock studios. Nice little breeze for a change blowing through the walking ring and backyard area here at Gulfstream Park. And as far as that mandatory payout, as I learned, the end of the fiscal year here in Florida.
June 30th. Always
June
write that
30th.
down.
All right. I thought it was a little random, but there's a reason behind it. And what are we doing?
All the new laws and everything start tomorrow in South Florida. Why? Don't ask me. Let me show you my ticket here. And one thing is constant. We got a great Rainbow 6 situation this afternoon. Singling, you see I stepped it up, $64.80, only because of that mandatory payout. Went 3 deep, 3 deep, 3 deep, 4 deep. I got to get through the first leg with Dancing Queenie. That's where my day lies.
And quite a few people may be anchoring their mandatory payout Rainbow 6 with the number 2 Dancing Queenie. And even if you're playing the early 5 or 4, you might want to take a long look at this filly by Big Drama and single her, because her first race was quite good. Thought it'd be kind of neat on the eve of the Summit of Speed if David Fox was to win a race today at Gulfstream Park by a filly by his previous sprint champion and Smile Sprint winner in Big Drama. And he's got one here in Dancing Queenie, who ran very well first time out. In fact, via the spotlight, we'll go back. A hard chase 3 wide. And it was the favorite down on the rail, One Direction Song, who kind of bombed in this race at 3 to 5, who drifted wide, wound up carrying out the winner, and Dancing Queenie even wider. And despite that, she was undeterred and battled very stubbornly down to the wire.
And that's exactly why I thought she would run well in this spot against this level of competition this afternoon. You see she's still going on. She's the number 3 on the outside. She gets carried wide. again. She gets a little outside, so I just thought up that performance. I wanted to find that single today so I could go deep because the rest of the card, to me, is very competitive.
It looks like basically the ones that have already run and have experience are going to have to improve and run faster if Dancing Queenie runs anything close to her first start here back about just under a month ago, 3.5 weeks ago. You do have a couple of firsters. The 1-4, the Fam, I saw Jay on the morning line had him fairly short, or her short, excuse me, at around 3-1 as that Majestic Perfection filly debuts for trainer Marcial Navarro. And my guess with the potentially live firster, simply because of a couple of the breezes and especially because of Tyler Gaffleone riding the 3 Queen of Swag, who's out of a mare who's 18, but she's been more of a blue-collar, kind of Florida-bred producer. A couple of six-figure earners in the family, and I got to think trainer Ron Spatz, if he's reaching out to get Tyler Gaffleone to ride one of his firsters in a race like this, he must think this horse, at least relative to the level, can run a little bit.
And that's always a key here at South Florida. Tyler Gaffleone is someone you always want to keep an eye on when he's on a first-time starter. So I'm singling here, but that's a type of horse that could come up and beat you.
Yeah, you like the 2-speed number. We'll see if one of the firsters gets involved as well. You would think a live firster is probably going to show some speed in the opening leg of this Rainbow Six. Rematch, here we go. It's a grudge match, if you will. Race number 5 on the program, a $16,000 3-and-up filly mare claimer on the grass again at a mile and a 16th. There isn't a whole heck of a lot, as I noted in the back end of the early pick 5 today, that separates Ventina and Bahama Kitten. And much like the first pick 5, they are the two I am going to use in this upcoming 5th race today. I just think it comes down to trip between that pair. I really like race number 6 today. Dare I say that's my favorite race on this Sunset Friday program. Moving on to leg number 3, I think I've got the class in the field and maybe a horse that has yet to really hit her best stride. I'll use both of them. Big fan of Jaden's Best, who always seems to bring his best. He exemplifies what tough racehorses are all about, and it's a spreadathon nightcap. Couldn't make heads or tails. Ronnie used 4 in the Rainbow Six. I've got 4 for a $24 late pick 5, and again, a mandatory late pick 5 on this Friday afternoon. But let's get back, Ronnie, to Ventina and Bahama Kitten, who know each other quite well, as Antonio Sano sends out Ventina. You've got Leo Gabriel Jr. training Bahama Kitten, and their last start just 13 days ago when Ventina of the pair not only won the race, got the better ride, and I thought ran a lot better than the 10 Bahama Kitten. We've got Ventina in the white saddle towel, got a tremendous ride that day from Edgar Zayas.
She comes right out near and, you know, really closes well in the stretch. And what I like is she became, with this victory, the only 3-time winner in this field today. So she's done something in this race that no one else has done, and I thought it was a top-notch performance. So Ventina on top of my ticket. She's a 3-year-old daughter parading. And guess what? Edgar Zayas, he better have a good day, or Jason and I are not.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Edgar and his agent have done a nice job on this card, and Edgar will finish a clear-cut second in the Gulfstream rider standings, with the stats beginning anew on the Summit of Speed program here tomorrow. Congratulations to a new dad who rides very well. You can clearly see the talent, the intelligence level, and the preparation and the confidence, all those keys at play there with Edgar Zayas. And I like Ventina to come right back over the 3 Bahama Kitten, who you're not a fan of at all in this race. We're leaving her out of the Super.
Yeah, I left her out of the Super. I just thought that I'd go a different way in here. And I went with the number 6, Don't Talk Back, who's stepping up to face winners. I thought this was a pretty good performance. This one kicked clear to defeat $20,000 maidens and won that race by a couple of lengths. Joe Orsino, C.J. McMahon going for 2 in a row. I think this horse has an upside, and I like the fact that this horse might jump up and run. And we've been talking about Joe Orsino in his barn throughout the meet that, as we mentioned, ends today, and he's done exceptionally well. So here's one of a bit of a sneaky now. I don't know what the horse is on the morning line. I think, what is it, 20-1? Or no, I'm in the wrong race here. The 5th race is 10-1.
10-1. All right, double-digit Ronnie there, trying to get Joltin' Joe home, or at least second here. We're always rooting for Joe Orsino, one of the good guys, and of course, his accomplishments in the game speak for themselves. He's got the 6, Don't Talk Back. I want you to talk back.
You have him on the ticket.
Yes, I think the horse will run well. Properly spotted first time against winners. My one concern with Don't Talk Back and the other potential speeds, That's the problem.
Right.
There's a few potential speeds in the race. I don't know if anybody's pulling a real easy trip up on the engine, per se, in today's fifth. We'll move on to race number 6. Noted this race as my favorite on the card today. We'll see if the opinion comes to fruition in this Florida-bred restricted $36,000 maiden special weight on the dirt, going 6 furlongs. I think you're getting some hitting in this race between the two. Go, Gone, who did not run well last time. Looked like Michael Ritvo had a ton of horse down the backstretch vying for the lead. That horse was empty. He's back third time out today for Kathy Ritvo. And your top selection, the number 4, Green Mansions, who you're a fan of, 1 of 2 in the race for Stanley Gold.
Yeah, this one making the third start of its current form cycle, turning back to 3/4 of a mile today. Duel for the lead, faded to finish second. It was against open maiden special weight competition, going 7/8 of a mile. MSCL Jaramillo want to show you a stat on Green Mansions with Stanley Gold over the last 5 years. Third start back from a layoff in dirt sprints, 3-year-olds right here at Gulfstream Park. He's 4 for 14. That's 29%, 64% in the money and a positive return of investment. This is where Stanley, in my estimation, shines. That third off the bench. So I use this one on top on my ticket. You have the Foreman, probably the one to beat in here.
I think the horse to beat, simply because you get a fresh turn back with this gelding by Cool Coal Man. And as we break down the Blewitts bullets on this gelding by Cool Coal Man, a 4-year-old who's trained by David Brady. He's back off a near 110-day layoff. He's been training forwardly, and that's a renowned training surface across town at Gulfstream Park West. A deep and tiring track. I would probably liken it in a way to the Oklahoma training track at Saratoga. Does wonders to get a horse ready to fire off the bench. And as far as who this horse has already run against, he's faced hands down the best fields, running in basically between turf and dirt 4 or 5 maiden special weights over the championship
at
meet.
the championship meet. But I'm glad that you mentioned the two, Go, Gone. This one improved 10 points on the Beyer scale. Second start made that middle move, weakened to finish 5th. Luca Panici is going to jump aboard today. Here's a horse, maybe not win, but I think you got to have on the ticket. I'm expecting improvement from Go, Gone.
Yeah, it's a rider change, and a big one at that, with peace and love, as Luca Panici continues to ride in fine form at Gulfstream Park. And we, of course, in fine fashion, continue to go down the road on this June the 30th. Race number 7 is a 5-furlong, other than 25K optional claimer. These are 3 and up fillies and mares in a race that is really chock full of contenders. One tough 7-year-old, in fact. She leads this group in lifetime wins, or she's near the front of the pack in lifetime wins with 10. The number 2, Kingston Terrace, who I am a fan of as a racehorse. You're clearly a fan of as well, and you got her right on top. And what is best described, I think, Ronnie, is an evenly matched scramble.
Yeah, been knocking on the door, talking about Kingston Terrace on the door. Consecutive starts at this level distance since shipping in from the fairgrounds for trainer Ron Forche. Carlos Montalvo rides. I think the horse breaks through today. But I like your selection that you have on top, Waves of Blue, too. I would not leave that horse off the ticket.
She can run and gun with the best of them, Waves in Blue. And speaking of running and gunning, a tight finish via the Spotlight back on May 14th. This was basically smack dab between the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness down here at Gulfstream Park. We will pick it up, a last out race with Little Christina, who's in the red cap and the white sleeves on the fence, and you can watch in the Eclipse colors, the black and white. Basically, Orchiette was 3 wide, and when the rider asked, she was no doubt ready to put in her run. A solid effort here with the filly, a little long to an extent with Little Christina, has some upside. I think Orchiette is the better, more talented of the two, but they're both in here with a chance.
Tyler Gaffleone riding that 5-horse this afternoon, and as I mentioned, the 6, Waves of Blue, making her first start. Boy, she can motor.
She is fast, and David Fox gives a leg up to Luca Panici. And I'm wondering in the stamina department if you get the best effort so far today out of Waves of Blue. She's going to need it against a field that includes Kingston Terrace and Orchiette and even Little Christina. And we'll just give you a brief little rundown here with trainer David Fox with this filly by Quality Road. I think there's quite a bit going on when you start to stir the handicapping pot as she tries to run and gun and just tries to bottom out the field, like the connections involved. And again, there is, or I should say there are, a few six-figure earners in the family on the female side with this filly by Quality Road. One more chance at this crack at a nice price for the 6 Waves of Blue.
Let me give you a stat on David Fawkes over the last 5 years with 3-year-olds in turf sprints right here at beautiful Gulfstream Park. He's 17 for 99, big sampling, 17%, 43% in the money, and a positive return of investment, $2.11. So that adds to the appeal of the number 6 Waves of Blue.
Yet another trainer with a live hand on this Friday program. He's got Dancing Queenie as a potentially big favorite in the opening leg of this mandatory Rainbow Six payout. We'll see if he gets the money in both races. Waves of Blue, of course, will be the bigger price. On to the 8th we go. 1 mile main track. This one a $12,000 starter optional claimer and some razor-sharp, tough veterans in this race. I mean, this is a condition that tends to come up just very salty and very deep, and you don't have horses, for the most part, or a string of horses, per se, Ron, that are out of form. It's like the ones that are entered are all breathing fire, and as far as that goes, I've been just bowled over by Jaden's Best. Horses like him, Sir Renown, I really have an affinity for here in South Florida. And Jaden's Best, what you see is what you get for the most part with this runner who's coming in off a slop victory. In fact, slop, you see how pervasive those wet tracks were about a month ago. The first couple of weeks in June were soggy here at Gulfstream Park. Now, Jaden's Best is the one on the lead beneath Edgar Zayas, as he'll win this race by about a length over the 10-horse Moonshine Martini, who's got a chance in this race from the inside post. But I would note that Moonshine Martini looked like turning for home, that he had Jaden's Best dead to rights, and he could not really get close to him.
Yeah, I couldn't get close to him. I don't know if it was the off track that, maybe stopped Moonshine Martini from running any better in there. But Jaden's Best, I think we have the logical one here. Certainly lived up to his name by being best when winning 5 of his last 6 races.
He's good.
And the only miscue comes against Sir Hanoun.
Yep, no kidding. Sir Hanoun beat him 2 back in the opener on May 19, but both those horses at the top of their game. Moonshine Martini, who I've also got in the mix, capping my try, has not won a race since September 25th of 2015 up at Woodbine. He's never won a race on the dirt, but his last was okay, and he'll be a decent price. Very gritty effort most recently, and we'll go with the cold 2-3 exacta, Ron and myself, of Ender's Cat, who, speaking of having a horse dead to rights, it looked like Bama Bound and Manolete were going to leave this horse in the dust, and somehow, some way in the slop, he fought back down on the inside and turned everybody back. That was a remarkable performance back on June 8th.
And this one, no slouch in the win department either. We're talking about Ender's Cat. He's a gelded son of Giants Causeway. Used his tactical speed to win 3 of his last 4 races, and only his defeat coming in when he finished 5th, and that was a mistake, the opening lead handicap. So you're absolutely right. These are hard-knocking campaigns.
Yeah, they're good. Heart and soul, bread and butter types. We respect them, and we'll look forward to today's 8th race, which, by the way, will wrap up the action on the main track as we close out the card and the month of June here on this Friday with the turf race. 7.5 furlongs on the Gulfstream Green, the distance of this $20,000 maiden claiming race. These are 3 and up, fillies and mares, and I'm glad on a day where you and I, for better or for worse, and likely for worse, saw a number of races eye to eye. We've got a bit of a disagreement here in the last. I like the connections involved with the number 3 Bleeding Heart, and the fact that this horse is a new face, has yet to lose or run for the maiden 20, and I'll take this filly by Broken Vow, who I think will handle the turf today.
Kathleen O'Connell, Edgar Zayas, there he is again, so you're Edgar Zayas.
I have him winning 7 or 8 today.
I went with the 1 Classic Charlotte, dropping to the 20 level, stretching out around 2 turns after dueling for lead, finishing, I thought, a game 4th, going 5 furlongs. That was against maiden special weight runners. It's a lightly raced 5-year-old daughter of Insummation. She's going to be running and gunning from that inside post position, and I'm going with speed. Almost got it done in the nightcap last night. He just faded at the stretch. So,
right. Well, speaking of fading in the stretch or not fading in this case, we had Songer, who nobody picked up for 16 Gs, thought he might win and get claimed. He was 4-5. He won Thursday's last race. It was Burning Wild, who was the single in the Rainbow Six, who kind of sucked up and finished second. A good close to finish second, I might add. And that was paying a little over $118,000.
Yeah, and the speed horse I was talking about was the 7, who just died in the end. That was my
well, he didn't die.
Well, you know what I meant.
Yeah.
Slowed down.
He slowed down, yes. That's a better way to put it. As we, of course, say goodbye. In fact, you'll have Ron and I. It's goodbye for now. Ron and I all day with you from our paddock studios. We'll take a little time out here on Gulfstream Park Live, and coming your way, Pete Aiello with that opening set of Scratches and Changes.